Hi everybody, this is reading number 8 from my book Pieces, 52 short stories about being human. This is the last chapter of the first part of the book, which kind of where you encounter my darkness and how I got out of it. And funnily enough, this chapter is about the darkest, for me considered the darkest part of my soul. This, I'll tell you more about it actually after the reading. I'm just going to read the first couple paragraphs just to give you a taste of how the chapter goes, and then I'll tell you all about it. Right, here we go. I fear it the most. It's the scariest monster of them all. It resides within me. Violence. As I was growing up, violence was a norm in my life. My parents were beating each other up just as much as they were beating us. I've learned not to anger my parents, as anger meant beating where I am from. Anger meant shouting, screaming, fights and broken things. It meant bruises and pain. It meant power, control and victory. Perhaps that's why I was not allowed to express it freely. Maybe that's why I hid it from my superiors, yet took it out on my brother, my peers and possessions. Not just mine, with a vengeance. Anger became a horrible hulk of a monster that I tried to hide, bury deep inside, not realizing that pushing it down made it explode, all that stronger, like a pressure cooker. I could not take even a drop of anger more. Every little thing would trigger a tornado of fury, one I could not control, one that left behind guilt, shame and regret when it was over. So I've wrote this chapter after I've gone through an experience where I made peace with my violence, after I made peace with my anger. I was never able to talk about it before this openly. I was not able to express it safely. As I said at the end of the paragraph, it's something that, as I experienced the anger, and often when I was really, really angry, the expression was violent. For me, those two were linked. At that point, I really could not see how you can be angry and not violent. Those things were synonymous. And as it was happening, it felt good. It felt empowering. It felt safe. But the moment the feeling dissipated, or the moment I managed to suppress it, what entered was incredible shame, often guilt, because I might have hurt someone or broke something, and just slivers of pain. I had, I suppose, at least subconscious understanding that his anger was just covered in enormous amount of pain, and I could see little glimmers, but then I pushed them down again, covered them with another layer, making sure they don't see the day of light. And then when I started to do therapy, and my therapist started to dig in and create openings, I remember this session when she literally gained access to that well of anger, and it really scared me, because over years I just learned to really suppress my anger to a point where for years I didn't feel much of it at all. It was very controlled because I was really scared of the violence that came with it. So I suppressed it so much. It was hard for me to express it in any way whatsoever. So I suppose I just pretended it didn't exist. And I was very stoic. So when my therapist started to dig into it and wanted me to express it, what actually came up was this fear. I remember she was using EFT, that's the tapping, to release emotions, and she was tapping on my throat. And as she was tapping just very lightly, it's a very light touch, I was pushing myself away from her in a chair, like literally backing up against the wall. I felt so scared that if that anger comes out, it's gonna be like a tornado. It's just gonna explode. It's gonna hurt people. It could hurt her. It could hurt me. Actually, as I was backing up, she had this massive vase in her room. I managed to break it a little bit. That was accident. It wasn't in fury. But as I was backing up, I actually knocked into it. I was just so scared. But she persevered and reassured. And eventually I was able to let that emotion out. And because I had her guidance, I was able to experience it in a non-violent way. And that created a link in my mind that suddenly, I suppose, overpowered that previous experience of anger doesn't mean violence. They're two different things. Violence can be an expression of an anger, but they're not necessarily linked. And I've learned that I can express anger in a safe way, safe to me and safe to others. And then it was about the work of expressing all that anger that's been accumulated, as well as learning to express it as it comes, as it's triggered by circumstances. So it was really helpful, and it's literally transformed my life. I was then able to heal the guilt, the shame associated with all that, because now I had an understanding that I can do things differently, but also how I just didn't know that before. No one told me that things could be different, that anger does not mean violence, that I don't need to express myself like that. There are other ways. And yeah, I became a much easier person to be around, for sure. But it became easier for me to be myself and to feel what I need to feel without fear. There's still work to be done, absolutely. There's still pain buried deep that my subconscious is protecting me from very fiercely, but I'm working on it. And I'm really feeling like I'm getting there, able to access the deepest pain with a little bit of trepidation, but not that panicky fear anymore. I'm not scared of my pain anymore. I really want to get to the bottom of it, feel it through, let it out, and allow myself to be a blank sheet to experience emotion as they come, instead of new experiences triggering old emotions. I don't want to live like that anymore. So this experience that led to writing this chapter was incredibly important on the journey to self-healing. It started everything. I'm losing my voice. Interesting. It started everything and allowed me to look beyond my fears, look beyond my anger, and to really start to see what's really going on. Also allowed me to, I'd say, tame my demons. I've looked at true dark side of myself, things I was very ashamed of. I was really ashamed of my violence, and although I'm not proud of what I've done, it's not like I would want to do it again, or I think it's okay. No. But I understand it's part of being human. I understand I have a choice how I express myself, and I understand that anger does not equal violence. And I also understand that at the time, if I knew any better, I would do better. It took some doing, but I was able to let go of that shame attached to this. I was able to forgive myself for it. And I'm able to let go of the past and move on from it, at least this part of the past. And no matter how much I beat myself up about it, I can't change what has happened in the past. I can't change what I have heard or what I have broken. I can make some repairs where possible. I can take responsibility for my actions and for the consequences of them, which I have done. But I cannot change it. So I might as well accept it, that that's what it is. Learn from it and make sure I don't do it again. That my future choices are better than my past ones. So if you take anything away from this video, I'd say no matter what you've done in the past, right now can be a new start. Not tomorrow, not in a week's time, not next year, not in January the 1st. Right now, this moment, you can choose to act differently. You can choose to learn from what's gone wrong in the past and do it better from now on. Whoever you hurt, you can apologize, you can forgive yourself, you can learn from it. So next time similar circumstances happen, you can make a better choice. You can go to therapy, you can learn more about yourself, about human behavior, you can take precautions, you can learn new tools of how to manage emotions. You don't have to be who you've been all this time. You don't have to be who you used to be in your past. You can be whoever you want to be as long as you made that conscious choice. And you take steps towards it. Start now. Change is possible. And leopards can change their spots. Absolutely. So no matter what you've done in your past, you can become more compassionate, kinder, loving, caring human being than you've ever been before. I promise you. Alright, take care of yourselves and see you with the next chapter.